Hello everyone, this video is about weapons that you can use while we have a lot of disabled crafted weapons. If you're not currently up to date, there is a massive bug going on which is allowing people to put any perks onto any other weapons using the crafting system in the game. As you can see here, this hand cannon appears to have no perks. This is because both the perks on this hand cannon that I have on it are actually disabled right now. Bungie has disabled some of the more broken perks on the guns, making it a little bit more balanced right now. However, there's still several broken things going around. If we take a look at my hand cannon here, you can see it has explosive payload and incandescent. However, if we shoot it, you can see there is no explosions. Another great example of this is our Apex Predator, pretty much the top DPS weapon in the game right now. Again, both of the meta perks on it are disabled in reconstruction and bait and switch. And if we look, you can see our magazine is not filling up, and we do not have the reconstruction buff. And if we were to try to proc bait and switch, it would not work. What this means is that we have a pretty unique short-term meta going on here where we want to be using mostly non-crafted weapons because they still have a fully functioning perk pool. So this video is going to go over some of the better non-crafted options that you may have forgotten about that might still be sitting in your vault from times before. The first thing we're going to look at is a forbearance replacement. We have a couple of options here. We can use a deafening whisper, which can be found from dares now, however was from a former season many years ago. However, you could also use the other void waveframe in the harsh language. We also have the new Pacific Epitaph in the kinetic slot as always, and while this is not the same slot, it's still a great weapon and something that you likely were using anyway, and you might be able to just switch your load up a little bit to fit this in. We also have the old Salvager's Salvo, which if you don't have, you can very easily go and buy from the Monument to Lost Light, which is the original forbearance, so to speak, with Chain Reaction and Ambitious Assassin just on a regular grenade launcher frame. Currently, wave frames are disabled, so forbearance is essentially the same grenade launcher as Salvager's Salvo, however does quite a bit less damage. With the Eremite being disabled, we also have several fusion rifle choices which we could go through. The top one I would go with is the Cartesian Coordinate because it is the most similar. However, there are some other options in other elements, such as the old Loaded Question from last season, which can have Overflow and Reservoir Burst, or Controlled Burst instead of Reservoir Burst. We also have the new Nox Perennial this season, which has the Envious Assassin Controlled Burst, which is the exact same role that you would put onto a crafted Eremite. Another option you might not have thought of is the Royal Executioner from Season 20, which has Envious and Reservoir Burst, which has a slightly faster fire rate than the high impacts, however overall does less damage than the Cartesian, so I would only recommend using the Royal Executioner if you don't have a Cartesian and you need a solar one right away. Now let's have a look at Apex Predator. This is likely the most important, and the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is the Cold Comfort. I don't have the God roll here, but it can have Envious Assassin and Bait and Switch. You could also revert back to your old Hothead that you might have been using before you got the Apex Predator back in Season 20, which has several good rolls like Field Prep and Clown, or Autoloading and Explosive Light. In addition, this season we also got a new grenade launcher, the first of its kind to have bait and switch on a grenade launcher, and it also has Envious Assassin, allowing you to dump the entire magazine in one continuous burst, and it actually will let you put the entire reserve of the launcher, including reserves, in one bait and switch timer, making it a very quick way to dump damage. For our machine guns, to replace the Commemoration, we have two big contenders here in the A Fine Memorial and the Unwavering Duty. The Fine Memorial is a mostly forgotten about machine gun available from the Moon, which can have autoloading and frenzy, so it's a great arc alternative anyway that you might have laying around. As for the Unwavering Duty, it's in a similar boat being solar, however it has lesser perks I'd say overall, but it's still a great option to have, and it's still one of the stronger archetypes, being the 450. Now, Eager Edge is something that was unfortunately disabled, and I'm sure a lot of people are missing. If you have a lot of keys sitting around in your inventory, you could go back to the treasure chest in Xur's Treasure Hoard and try to get one of these to drop as a non-crafted Eager Edge. This is what I've been using for a while, and it does work on the non-crafted variant. Currently, Heritage and also Ness's Oblation, which both rely on reconstruction normally, do not have reconstruction working, however their damage perks are working. So if you do want to have an auto-loading compatible slug shotgun, I recommend going back to the first and last out like we used to use in the double slug anarchy meta. In the kinetic slot, we also have the Fortissimo slug, so we actually have a double slug setup using no crafted weapons. However, the Fortissimo doesn't have any auto-loading perks and is mostly used for a surrounded weapon when compared to the Heritage. You also might still be able to use your Rufus's Fury depending on your role on it. Because Rufus's Fury has so many different god rolls that you could put onto it, a lot of people will have a combination of perks which are not actually disabled right now. As you can see, both of mine are still working. However, reconstruction will absolutely not work on the Rufus's Fury right now if you're using a crafted version. The Fatebringer is, as always, a very powerful primary weapon in the kinetic slot, especially with the hand cannon buff we just got this season. If you're looking for a solar legendary hand cannon to replace the Zolly's Bane, you could use an Outlaw Dragonfly Ancient Gospel. This thing is like the off-brand solar Fatebringer from back in the day. Another great weapon you could use would be the Ignition Code if you relied on Pardon Your Dust a lot. The Ignition Code can roll with Slide Shot, although mine doesn't have it, but many people have a Slide Shot version just sitting in their vault, and it is fully available and ready to use now. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching the whole thing. I'd love to see your comments for what weapons you're using right now, and I'd also like to take a moment to beg for subscribers and likes. With that out of the way, thanks for watching as always.